what a game. Let's just get into it. Starting first with Wolfsburg's deep build-up in this 4-3-3 shape with narrow forwards. This being against Barcelona, basically playing man for man, at least in the defensive portion of the team, and then the forwards would just try and press towards the side. In this deep build-up, key players were Frooms and Janssen because they were expected to play longer balls into Ruud or Pop, with the forwards in Jonstetter and Payot looking to take advantage of that by running in behind. So to stop Janssen especially, we eventually see Bonmati given that duty where she jumps from pressing Oberdorf into then usually trying to go and press Janssen. With this build-up, we get to see some of that Barcelona man marking, as well as also Ruud now looking to try and pass the ball here into Huth, with Pop pinning Paredes, and then Jonstetter narrowing, looking to try and make that run behind, and Payot now looking also to try and get back up the pitch into an attacking position. Fortunately for Barcelona, Giraldez is able to get back in possession, and Barcelona settle the game down by playing that ball back into Mappy here rather than forwards. This is in contrast to a brief period between roughly the 50th and 55th minute where they did actually look for those early balls in behind as they were in their ascendancy. Briefly pausing here, we have got this 4-2 shape. However, it essentially will move to more of a 3-2 with Rolfo doing what she typically does and moving into that left wing position, which of course allows Baruelo to be able to narrow. Bonmati is going to be floating here between the lines with Caldente playing as a centre forward, but she'd also drop between the lines and float too. Starting with that left hand side, Barca seemed to be looking to exploit this space here with movement by Baruelo where she would drop off the line, and with the likes of Bonmati and Caldente having also floated over to that side. This being against Wolfsburg's essentially 5-4-1 because Jonstetter was tasked with tracking Rolfo, so she'd end up in a right wing back position. And with Baruelo and the overload on this right hand side and them pushing up the pitch back towards their own half and the Wolfsburg defenders tracking them, that would create space for the likes of Rolfo to be able to then run in behind, testing Jonstetter's defensive positioning, but then also the prioritization of the rest of the defense because they were involved in quite a complex man marking system. We start to get to see that here. For example, Oberdorf, your CDM, pushed out here towards your left hand side. You've got your two centre backs not really in a line with the rest of your defence, and we can see how here Wilms is having to push out as Paruello drops, and we can see how Jonstetter was anticipating that play in behind her, as I mentioned. But then also consider the space between our two CDMs here for Wolfsburg. I think this distance here is just important because a little bit of a spoiler, but their partnership between Huth and Oberdorf essentially decides the map. And then now here we finally get to see that 3-2 properly set up on Mati here between the lines, and then there's two runners in that left hand side channel testing this defensive flexibility. And Barca continue to test Wolfsburg's defensive solidity here with players constantly moving between the midfield and the forward line. Moving on, Barca are forced or choose to pass back, eventually getting to their goalkeeper, and Wolfsburg make sure to commit because this is one of their avenues for chance creation. We see that in how we've got our Wolfsburg centre midfielders pushing up the pitch, and we get a centre back stepping in behind them, allowing Payot to take her position halfway between the centre back and Bronze here, testing Panos's distribution. Okay, and then we get to see Barca trying to build up in a 2-4 or a 2-5 shape. We've got our back line and our midfield. Of course, Rolfo's already trying to push up on that left hand side, and as I mentioned, we've got an extremely aggressive press here by Wolfsburg with both defenders and centre midfielders pushing very high up, tracking, trying to force an error, which they did on this occasion, leading to Payot's goal. Moving on to the 7th minute, we get to see again that back four with that midfield three and narrow centre forwards. Here, instead of hitting Ruud, we're looking to hit Pop with those two wide midfielders looking to run in behind against the man marking system here for Barcelona. Barca was successfully able to slow them down in the midfield, and Wolfsburg looked to pass it out wide, but by now the rest of the fullbacks and midfielders are able to get up and support. Unfortunately, Wolfsburg aren't able to gain any ground in that right hand side channel, and they're forced back towards Fromms here. We've got Aitana again here marking Oberdorf, and then we should expect as this play develops and Wolfsburg retreat, she'll jump from Oberdorf towards Janssen, and that's exactly what we end up seeing here, preventing Janssen from being able to play her third ball in this left-hand side channel to take advantage of Pop and Payol, who are 1v1 here with very little cover. Instead, Janssen has to play the much safer pass for Barcelona, pass to the side here. And so we get to see Wolfsburg in that same shape again. Wide midfield's a little bit further apart, but we've got that long ball here with that 4-1-2-3 shape. Okay, so moving to the second half, 51st minute, where we still have that 2-3 shape, although a slight alteration now with Barcelona's press. Essentially here playing a 4-4-2, although we're going to have Guijarro moving from pressing Huth to trying to press Oberdorf, because Frooms was happy to play into not just her centre-backs, but also through the centre-forwards into Oberdorf. And Barca wanted to test Oberdorf's ability to turn and distribute centrally under pressure. So we get to see that here with Guijarro jumping from Huth towards Oberdorf. Briefly here, I want to mention a little bit more about Huth, who typically plays a wide midfielder, but during Barcelona's quick fire goals, her positioning and awareness as a centre defensive midfielder or a centre midfielder was taken advantage of, with on both occasions Guijarro running from her blind spot into the box and scoring, taking advantage of the fact that Barca had been able to draw Oberdorf away. It's not to blame Huth, because there were numerous occasions where Rolfo crossed from the left-hand side, and really, if Barcelona had gambled, they'd have scored numerous chances before that. I mean, Barcelona are able to header the ball here and then successfully press the second ball, and then, as I mentioned earlier, where they instead chose to play backwards and retain possession, retain control here in the 50th minute to about the 55th. Once they got the ball here, they're looking for that early ball, trying to capitalize on their momentum, but to no success. Okay, so here in the 66th minute, we've got Barcelona trying to build up in a 2-4 or a 3-2 shape. Rolfo trying to push up higher into that left wing position, allowing it to be more of that 3-2. This being against Wolfsburg in that 3-2 or 3-2-4-1 shape. Here we've got our wide midfielder having narrowed to cover the short pass rather than the longer pass out here into Bronze, and we've got a centre back stepping out, Janssen here, into CDM. Barca are able to beat that press and establish themselves with some clever passing. Whilst Wolfsburg were able to rebuff Barcelona at this point, they were struggling somewhat to turn that defence into counter-attacking transitions, possibly not helped by the fact that Jon Sotir has to drop quite deep to defend against Rolfo, which allows Wilms to be able to stay narrow and help the centre backs as they try to track and man mark a very fluid Barca front line. Here with those clearances, Barca drop to try and draw Wolfsburg out, and then we have that early ball by Mappy here into the left-hand side channel to create that 1v1 for Baruelo versus Hendrich. Moving on to the subsequent Wolfsburg build-up, thought it was interesting, lucky but interesting, because Wilms is able to ride or evade the tensions of Barcelona here, playing it into Pop, who then has the ability to switch it out to Rausch far side, taking advantage of first Caldente and then Graham Hansen far side, who's not tracking Rausch, leading to quite a favourable opportunity here for Wolfsburg. Okay, we get to see Barcelona's deep build-up again. The only reason I wanted to include this one was because whilst man marking can be very effective, I think it also is computationally quite difficult, because you have to be quite efficient communicators, and here we're seeing a bit of a breakdown in communication between Ruud and Huth, where Huth is running across to try and put some pressure here, whereas really they needed to discuss between themselves. Just Ruud just pushed across, and Huth picked up Ruud's player here in Walsh, because that's a shorter distance for both of them. But here this allows quite a nice opportunity for Bronze to be released and get into quite a dangerous position. Fortunately for Wolfsburg, they're able to stop her and start a counter-attack, leading to another Payol counter-attacking shot. Anyway, of course, as the game went on, Wolfsburg relied more and more on counter-attacks, and then in the final 10 minutes of injury time, it was just an absolute barrage of long throw-ins and aerial duels. Looking at Barcelona's corner kicks taken by Mappy, they were often in swingers, mostly from the right-hand side, and then they were driven if they were from the left-hand side. And the pattern essentially was Barcelona players clump up centrally close to the penalty spot, and then from there we've got runners towards back post, front post, and then also centrally. And you'll see the same pattern being repeated in the 13th minute, the 41st minute, etc. I worry I'm overstating it, but Wolfsburg tried to counter-attack, take advantage of the fact that, of course, earlier in the game they were ahead, so there was space behind, especially with the positioning of the likes of Rolfo and even the centre-backs too. Here, I mean specifically in that 3-2 shape for early balls in behind. And then I thought I'd just leave you with some of Wolfsburg's lock throw-ins. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, consider watching some of our other playlists of women's analysis or men's football analysis. And with that, we're out.